Robin, this is Marty Keegan. How are you? I'm so happy you're here on Hollywood Babble-On.
I'm so glad to be there.
Robin, I got to tell you, we're a little excited today. Number one, yesterday I got robbed at gunpoint, which was an exciting story. I did. And I know you live in L.A., so all I'm saying is lock your doors. Lock your doors.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so shocking.
Yeah, but it was amazing because the Beverly Hills Police Department was just like on it. I think there was 7 squad cars, 3 motorcycle cops, and a helicopter. I mean, they were just like within 2 minutes, they were all over. The guy got away, but not because they didn't try. They were fantastic. But
were you on the street or at your house?
I was at my house, and I heard the guy rustling around outside, and I just thought they were working out in the alleyway, and the guy was trying to steal the top of my convertible and put it in the back of his van. So when I ran outside to confront the guy, which is always what you want to do, Robin. Confront.
Yeah, that was really smart,
right?
Exactly. It's with no baseball bat, no gun in my hand, just my fist, because I am bulletproof.
Right. Verbal persuasion, that was your weapon.
Well, I had watched your movie, the Jane Austen Book Club, and I felt like I would just say some romantic poetry type things, and the guy would turn over a new leaf. Unfortunately, it did not work out well for me.
You said to him, "What would Jane do?" And he pulled out a gun.
Yeah, he said, Jane would shoot you. So he.
God, I'm so glad you escaped with your life. That's a terrible story.
Me too. But what happened that was very exciting? This show is a live internet show, and they stream us here out of the studio. And the people listening are able to also text chat in, and we have an audience that stretches out to 26 different countries. So we've got people from all over the world listening and asking questions, and they can also phone in. But one of the listeners sent me a bullhorn, which I am just so excited to receive.
I'm not.
Because to drive around in this city, it's just nice to be able to now have some armory to tell people to pull their heads out of their rear ends and drive their car and get off their cell phone. I know you're not.
Get off the phone. That's your get off the phone bullhorn. We all need one.
Are you from New York?
No, I've lived in New York, but I grew up in the South, and I live in Los Angeles now, and I'm a frequent visitor to New York.
Ah, okay. Well, let's talk about your movie, the Jane Austen Book Club. And you wrote it, you directed it. We've got a really nice cast. Tell everyone about the cast, first of all.
Me tell about the cast? Okay, great cast. Really great guys in the film, really great women. The men are Mark Blucas, Jimmy Smits, and Hugh Dancy, and Kevin Zegers, who you may remember from Transamerica, very talented young actor.
And Hugh Dancy is really becoming a hot commodity right now.
Hugh Dancy is such a good actor and such a nice man. And I met him before he was starting to sort of break through, and I remembered him. And as soon as I had a chance to cast him, I did. And boy, is he funny in this film. And then the women are Maria Bello.
No, let me interrupt you for a second because Silver Wakeboarder here on the board wants to know what it was like to work with Maria Bello because he thinks she's one of the most underrated actresses of our time, is what he's saying.
Maria Bello is such a great lady. She's a very down-to-earth girl. She was up for fun. She had never done a comic role before, so she sort of took a leap with this with a first-time director and just trying to do something different. And she was just up for the whole thing. She's a great companion and willing to try just about anything. She's just kind of fearless.
I wish I could find more dates like that. Can I just tell you that? Fearless and willing to try just about anything.
There's only one of Maria Bello, and she's, I think she's attached right now.
Yeah, no, I'm kidding. Now, who are the other women that are in the movie? We have Maria Bello.
Okay. Emily Blunt. I had seen her in this little British film called My Summer of Love, and her comic timing in that film, which wasn't even really a comedy, kind of blew me away. And so I was also looking for a chance to work with her, and it came up on this film.
Well, wasn't she in Devil Wears Prada?
She was. She played the first assistant in that, and that came out the summer that I was casting this.
Right.
So I had this sort of funny thing of, I would say, I want to cast Emily Blunt, and then whoever I was talking to would say, who's Emily Blunt? And I would say, well, she was in this little British movie, and she was in Devil Wears Prada. And they go, oh, you mean Anne Hathaway? And I would say, no, I mean the other one. And, it was a conversation I had almost on a loop. Now, of course, everybody knows who Emily Blunt is, as well as who Anne Hathaway is.
Yeah, well, for me, I'm not a big Anne Hathaway fan. I think there's a lot of actors out there that are fine and generic, and they do a nice job. But for me, there's nothing cutting edge or really unique about Anne Hathaway. She's beautiful, but Emily Blunt steals that movie. Her comedic timing is so good, and I believe, after watching your movie, for me, out of all the actors, and they all do a fine job, don't get me wrong, but she's so locked into her character. You believe her. It doesn't take 2 seconds to believe she is that character. She's so locked in, did such a good job. I love her, and I hope she gets to work more, because she has a very unique sense of comedic timing, and she's beautiful.
Yes, she's a very special actor. I couldn't agree with you more. And I think that what you see, that thing that you're talking about where you immediately believe that she's a character, that's commitment.
Absolutely.
It is something that I love to see in actors, is that they just absolutely commit to the role. And she definitely has that thing.
And instinctive choices. She made really good choices in your film, I thought, for the character, and they were consistent.
Absolutely.
Consistent.
Yeah.
Now,
we understood that girl. And then we have Amy Brenneman and Kathy Baker and Maggie Grace.
Right. And Maggie Grace plays the lesbian, correct?
Yes, she plays Amy Brenneman's daughter. She's about 19 in the film, and she's gay. And she likes to do extreme sports. She has kind of a secret life as a person who jumps out of airplanes and does rock climbing and so forth. She doesn't tell her mother.
Wait, a gay woman who likes to do sports? No. Stop.
Well, let's not stereotype.
No. Well, listen, she's very beautiful. She's stunningly beautiful. And I thought that was a nice non-stereotype in the film, that here you have this beautiful woman, and you depict her as a person, not as a stereotype, which is nice.
Yeah. Well, I think we just have to get over our preconceptions about gay characters, because I think that it's been hurting the way gay people are perceived in film and TV.
Well, I think there's a lot of that in all areas of film. I mean, if you look, for me, I was just having a discussion the other night with someone. I don't understand when we were talking about. I'll bring it around to you and your film, because I want to hear your opinion on how you see yourself and what you write and what you direct. But I get upset with in the black community, you have a lot of people complaining about stereotypes of characters, and I don't understand why, as a group, they aren't writing more pieces that appeal to everyone. So the black character is just a Family Guy doctor. Why is everything set in the hood and is a downer and violence? I'd like to see Spike Lee do just a picture that everybody can appeal to. And I bring it around to female directors, and sometimes a lot of the films are chick flicks where they're just appealing to a certain group, as opposed to let's do something that appeals to everyone. Now, when you look at your film, do you see the appeal to a wider audience or just a group of audience? What's your take on, because you wrote it for a reason, you directed it a certain way, what's your take on who you think your film appeals to and why?
Well, I made the film for everybody to come see.
Mm-hmm.
I figured that anybody who'd ever loved reading or been in a book club would probably, male or female, want to see this film. But in addition to that, I think that people who do not read a lot, or maybe they think I should read more or whatever, I think that they'll recognize themselves in this film as well, because the people in this movie are not intellectuals, by and large. It's one person, Prudy, who's probably a little more intellectual than the others. They're all people who don't have time to read in their life. In fact, the reason they did a Jane Austen Book Club is because all of them had read some Jane Austen book at some time. And so they figured, well, we'll do that one because it'll be easy. So it really is a movie about contemporary life and about how difficult it is to get together and to do things that cause us to focus, to do things that put meaning in our life. We watch these people essentially form a little village, a little community out of lives that are very fractured. And I just thought that was something that everybody might relate to, certainly any adult might relate to. And I didn't think about this necessarily as a chick flick.
Yeah, and
and of course, the male characters are very important in the film. But because it says Jane Austen in the title, I think it takes some men by surprise when they find themselves actually liking the movie a lot.
Well, I thought you did a good job of addressing the men in the movie and also not making the women man-haters, you know, and the relationship between Amy Brenneman and Smits, the way you brought that around, you know, because a lot of, I think, writer-directors just would have gone, you know, a simpler route, and I think you did a very good job on that, and I think that does give appeal to the men.
Yeah, I think men see themselves in the movie. A lot of young men see themselves in the role of Greg. I've heard that a lot from college-age young men. Yeah, because he is the misunderstood male. In all of Jane Austen's novels, the women begin by not understanding the men that they meet and know.
You know what he needs?
Clueless.
Do you know what he needs? A bullhorn. A bullhorn.
He needs a bullhorn to ride around and say, "I'm not as geeky and ridiculous as you think I am. I'm actually I am superior."
Exactly. At least he'd be heard. Now you've done a lot of adaptation, and is that kind of your specialty, that you take a novel or the story idea that someone has and you adapt it to the screen, or am I wrong?
Well, those are the movies of mine that have gotten made.
Okay.
I think it's easier to get adaptations made than original films made.
Right.
Because adaptations have a kind of brand name value. People have read the book, the publisher's already done one advertising campaign, and the studio goes, well, we know there's a built-in audience, the people who read the book. So it's kind of a starting place. And it's harder for studios to take a chance on original work. It's always the weakest category. And when we do the Writers Guild ballots in terms of, you know, everybody sort of in the Writers Guild says, I vote for this movie or I vote for that movie. And the two categories are adaptation and written by. And the original work, the written by work, is always, there are many fewer titles there than under adaptation.
Now, what are you, do you feel that there are more challenges to women operating in Hollywood, you know, in any capacity, that you're given the same opportunities, or maybe you have to fight a little harder? You know, my wife is the entertainment writer for Time magazine, and sometimes I get frustrated because she's in a man's world, and she'll never say it, but you know, there is a good old boy network, and sometimes it feels to me like the women have to be a lot better than the guys to get chances to do different things, or they typecast you into a certain type of film that, hey, Robin does this really well, let's just keep her there, and maybe you have a Pulp Fiction in you that you want to get out type of thing, but they're less inclined to give you that opportunity. Do you struggle with that at all? Do you fight through it?
Yeah, I think every woman who works in Hollywood struggles with different things that are sort of stacked against the girls. For female directors, it's very hard to cross over into directing from, say, screenwriting or acting or something else. Much easier for men. The other thing is as you say, very difficult to break out of a kind of pink and blue ghetto. They sort of put people in their niches. And men are much more likely to be given a film to write that is aimed at a female audience or that has female protagonists. Much more likely for that to happen than for a woman to be given a film to write or direct that is about men. And so it would be very hard for someone like me to do something that would be harder edged. I know from the material that I've just been sent in the last month of people who've seen the film, they go, oh, let's see if she'll direct our movie. I'm being flooded with movies that are fairly soft, that have, you know, women in them. They're about female problems. And it doesn't sort of address the breadth of what I understand at this point in my life about humans in general.
Right.
So you have to be careful not to be typed. There's only so much control that you have over that.
But it's so ridiculous when you're talking about writing. You know, you're talking about guys who wrote Shakespeare in Love. They weren't living in the day. And why would that matter if it was a male or female that wrote a period piece like that? And if you look back over movie history, if you go back to the 40s, people like Bette Davis, Joan Crawford, they were number one at the box office. A lot of the male stars were away during World War II, and the studios leaned on these women, and the stories were written, strong stories that the women were almost written like men characters as far as their bravado and all of that type of thing. And it's sad to me that those types of films are not being encouraged and written and produced and made today.
Well, I absolutely agree. If only you were running one of the studios out here, we could make that case. Now, I will say that John Calley, who has run 3 different studios and was my producer on this film, is the original man who loves women. And he doesn't see women as in some sort of special category where, we're only allowed to tell certain kinds of stories or be a certain way. It was liberating to work with somebody who really sees women as whole people and isn't automatically stereotyping them as soon as we walk in the door.
Well, yeah, it's I think it's part of it is just human nature, because we all have a tendency to gravitate towards what we know and what we're familiar with, and usually, if I'm an Irish guy, I got a lot of Irish friends. If you're black, you got a lot of black friends. It's just human nature, and I think you've got men in power, and they don't relinquish it so easily. And for Robin, for years I was a stand-up comic working road clubs, and the women have it very difficult because all the booking agents are wannabe comics, and they're guys. So they resent the women, they're intimidated, but the guys, they want to be my buddy. Right. So, and I see that in Hollywood too.
Yeah, it's definitely hard. It's hard for female composers. It's hard for female DPs. It's not a level playing field yet. However, we are making very small strides. We just got to keep at it. Persistence, I think, is key.
Yeah, I think part of it too is sometimes women, they take a leave of absence, they go away. They're not sometimes they're not as career driven because of having kids and that type of.
I don't think that's true so much in these creative fields, because men take time off as well all the time.
Yeah, that's true.
From project to project.
That's a good point.
Absolutely. I mean, the funny thing is that in my own household, I have the Petri dish in which we can examine this, because my husband is also a screenwriter. And I have only to watch his career, and his career and mine started at the same time. We were neck and neck. He got many, many more early screen credits than I did. He got an opportunity to direct before I did, and he is still given projects with female protagonists and male protagonists, whereas I am very rarely offered a movie in which a man is a character in the film.
Yeah, see, if I was...
we can watch it right in our own household, and it is a subject of amusement between both of us.
Do you ever feel... It's hard, you're a writer, he's a writer. I would think that at times, even if it's just a fleeting moment, there's got to be a feeling of resentment, not towards him personally, because obviously he's not doing anything to you, but just, wow, that's just not fair.
Yeah, I definitely feel sometimes that it's not fair, but he also feels that way.
Sure.
We're definitely on each other's team.
Right. Well, now, didn't you write Memoirs of a Geisha also?
I wrote that, yeah. I mean, I wrote the screen adaptation. It was, of course, first a wonderful novel by Arthur Golden.
Right, but that was quite a picture, and I think that appealed to a lot of audiences, and yet it had a very... the women were centralized characters, and I found that to be a very interesting backdrop premise, and these women who were objectified and yet showed strength.
Yeah, exactly. They sort of used the fact that they had been objectified to gain their own power in a way.
Right.
But that was a project that I didn't originate. I was very happy to work on it, but it was really the passion project of Rob Marshall, who was the director.
Another man, that son of a bitch. Another man.
He was great.
No, I'm teasing.
He was great, and I loved working with him.
I'm teasing you. Now, what was some of the challenges making the Jane Austen Book Club? Where did you shoot it?
I shot it in Los Angeles. The film is set in Sacramento, but the only way that we were going to be able to make this film with the cast that we wanted was to shoot in Los Angeles, because we were paying these actors much, much less than they would normally be paid. And they don't take basement level wages in order to then travel to another city and not see their families.
Right.
So we had to shoot in Los Angeles, but it turned out to be fine. There's enough of Los Angeles is quite built up, but at the fringes of Los Angeles County, which is a huge county, there are areas that are not as built up and urban looking, and we were able to find locations that looked like Sacramento.
Yeah, it did. I saw the Marmalade. I saw the Marmalade, which was cool.
Exactly. We had like an evening of pickup shots where we ran around and got exteriors that would try to match the interiors of the stuff we had shot, and we just looked everywhere for some place that had the same sort of feel as the inside of that restaurant, and we ended up with Marmalade. So everybody in the valley is going, wait a minute, I thought this was set in Sacramento. I just had dinner there last night.
Welcome to the wonderful world of films. Now, so you did this on a lower budget. Can you tell what the budget was?
Oh, yeah, very low, under $6 million.
But that's a great budget level. That's a great budget level in this day and age, because it's hard not to make money if you're keeping it in that ballpark, and you're throwing creativity at it instead of money, and I think you get better solutions.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun doing that, but fortunately I had a really good producer, Julie Lynn, who actually knew how to do it. It does take real skill, real producing skill, to know how to make a movie that with this many production values, this much on the screen, for under $6 million. And we just hired people who could pull in favors. People did us so many favors on this movie. I can't even imagine how much it would have cost if people hadn't constantly let us borrow things or forgiven, money or, the various little things that happen in every department.
I think people sometimes lose sight of how generous people can be in this business, especially when they see your passion and you're committed, and they've been in the same position, and it's like The Godfather. I'll give you this favor, but I may come around another time and ask you for a favor. But I'm always amazed how people help. I just did a short film, and Panavision gave me an $8,000 camera package for $1,000. We're over at Modern Video right now, and Modern Video is like color correcting and doing everything like for next to nothing, in a $500 an hour bay. So, it's nice that some of these big corporations actually give back, and they realize you're the filmmakers of tomorrow, or, the Jane Austen Book Club may lead to you doing a $100 million picture down the line, and more money for them, and it.
Right. I think that you're right.
Here,
there is people
it's
at
great.
The beginning of a career, and they want to help. Keslow Camera gave us a great package on ours, and Company 3 did us enormous favors with our DI and so forth. I mean, everybody that we turned to for help constantly gave us a bargain, and it made it possible.
Well, that's great. And how long did it take you to shoot? Now, we have a lot of young filmmakers that listen to this show. You got people from whether it's SC or Columbia that listen to this show, and they love talking to different directors and getting information. How many weeks did it take you to shoot the film?
We had only 30 days.
Wow, so
we
4 weeks.
Had a couple of weeks of rehearsal that the actors allowed us to have, under SAG rules.
Right.
You have to, pay for rehearsal unless the actors agree to meet. And all of these, we did pay for some rehearsal, but the actors also agreed to meet. And so we were able to rehearse enough to get the ensemble together and get that ensemble feel, which really helped. I shot with 3 cameras. Sometimes the cameras were slaved together, so I was getting different sizes of the same performance. But a lot of the time we were just focusing on different performances that were all happening at the same time, and we would just keep moving the camera.
Did you shoot in HD or did you shoot in film?
Oh, we shot in film. The HD right now for us would have been more problematic because we were shooting in small practical locations, and we didn't have enough money to have it's very technical. You have to have another room where all the HD stuff can be, and a lot of technicians. And our locations, by and large, were very small. They were the interiors of real small houses. And so it would have been logistically almost impossible to be as flexible as we needed to be and shoot on HD. And with the lab deals that we got and the camera deals that we got, it wasn't a savings.
Well, I gotta tell you, because I just shot in HD and it looks beautiful. And we were at Modern last night, and the guy, when he was looking at it, he thought it was film. So the key is the lighting. But I will tell you this: it's costing more money to do it in HD than to do it in film, and that has blown my mind. It is not a money savings.
Yeah, it is not a savings yet. I'm glad the technology is there and that it's developing.
Yeah.
But we did a cost-benefit analysis of both. And with the deals that we were able to get, it was better for us to shoot on film. And we could actually be more flexible. Because by the time you put the good lenses on an HD camera, it's not smaller than the little Aeroflexes that we were using.
Right. Well, can you talk a little bit about, I think one of the great challenges that you have that I see is just what you were alluding to, is that you have these stars in the movie. They're working for far below what would be their normal rate. They're working in a condensed amount of time. You're asking them to rehearse. How do you get to them? How do you talk them into, working for $50,000, when their normal price is $500,000 or, $5 million or whatever it is? How do you maneuver that with agents who are about money for the most part, and, UTA that won't pick up the phone and even respond unless they know you? How do you maneuver that?
It's very, very tough. I'm not going to be glib about it. It is really hard to get people to take your little project seriously, because actors are offered stuff all the time, and agents are always trying to balance the work that they do for not much money against bigger movies. And you can't always tell when an actor is actually technically available because of balancing these different kinds of offers. In my case, I absolutely cheated, because I had John Calley, who is such a well-known producer and doesn't have an enemy probably in the world.
Right.
People love him.
He's Irish, that's why.
He's Irish. There you go.
We stick together.
But he always treats people well, and he's funny. People love to talk to him. He's just great company. And he's he's an older guy now, so he has started a lot of careers, and people owe him.
Right.
And so he could call up people and say, I'm putting together this little $6 million movie with a first-time director, and I want to send it to you, and would you read it right away? And they would say yes.
Right.
So I had the big gun of John Calley.
He's able to get in there and call them at their house, and on a personal level say, hey, this is good for your career.
And he knows
check it out.
everybody. And it really, really helped, because I had been trying to make other independent movies for the previous 15 years.
Right.
And I've been working with people who weren't as well connected, and it is a big, big difference. So that's number one.
Well, I cheated
by having a great producer. The second way I cheated was that I went to actors that have a strong background in theater.
Right. They're about the work.
This film, it was about the work. All of them had started in the theater. Most of them had also done television. And then some of them had then gone on to have film careers. And I was just preying upon their weakness for being able to do 15, 10-minute long scenes that were all dialogue in which people were actually playing together. They looked forward to that because they had not had an opportunity to do that.
Well,
and that's what made them passionate about rehearsal and about showing up to work.
You know what I never understand is you've got people like, I'll say the names, you don't have to, whether it's Sylvester Stallone or, even Michael Douglas, who I've been working for writing for the last few years, and he's doing a movie that came out called King of California, and I think it's the best thing that he's done ever.
I saw the trailer for that. It looked really good.
Well, it's a cute movie. It's a fun movie, but he's playing age appropriate. He's 65 years old, and I'm sorry, he's not the Secret Service guy running in a full sprint tackling someone anymore, and it looks ridiculous. And play something that is age appropriate to you. And these guys have made $20 million a movie. They're worth hundreds of millions of dollars. At what point do you just say, I'm going to go get a team of guys, and I'm just going to do, money's not an issue anymore, and I'm going to do $5 million, $10 million movies that are strong story characters that are appropriate for me, that I can hit a home run and win Academy Awards and leave something behind that's really memorable instead of the dreck that they keep turning out. So
Right.
I really admire somebody like Maria Bello or Kathy Baker that say, you know what? I love this part. I love this script. I'm interested in Jane Austen. I like you. I respect him. You know what? What else am I doing for the next 30 days? I'm going to go do this. I'll still
Well,
eat.
that's exactly right. It's
Yeah.
the people taking the lead. And because we got up very quickly, and that was that's like the third way that I cheated,
Yeah.
was that we got a go-ahead, the first input, the barely perceptible nod from Sony Classics in June, which was, yes, we'd be interested in doing this with you as a negative pickup if we can do it for under 6. So then we scrambled very quickly to prove that we could do it under 6. We got the budgets. Then we started going out and seeing if we could get the cast. By September, we were full on casting. And November 1st, we started shooting. So that fast run-up, it's scary to put together a movie entirely in basically 3 months.
Right.
But what was good about it was that we didn't get that dodge from people in which they said, my client's in Spain, she might be on vacation for a couple of months, maybe we'll get back to you. They couldn't do that. We could say, is she available right now? If she's available right now, let's have her read it. If she's not available right now, then we can't use her. And it just that we used that time frame really as a kind of cudgel, because we were going regardless. And then people got excited about it. 1 or 2 people, Maria Bello signed on, Emily Blunt signed on, Amy Brenneman, that it was like, oh, well, maybe I can get my client in there, It began to change because of the speed with which we went together.
Well, it also gives you momentum. It's like we're doing it. We're doing it now. It's not a matter of we're in development and this is what we're looking to do. Are you with us or against us? We're moving on with or without you, and I think that really creates a momentum for you.
It absolutely does. And then it separates out the people who are too scared to do the work.
Right.
The people who should say, yeah, I'll go do this small indie movie about people who like to read, If they're worried about it, if they're thinking, is this a career move? We just blew past that, If you're going to take 2 weeks to worry about whether it's a career move, we've got to go to the next person.
Well, good work is always a good career move, and that's what I don't get. And listen, you've been around actors. You know that a lot of these people are emotional cripples, and
I disagree.
Well, I think that a lot of them rely far too much on what their manager says and what their agent says, and and they wind up broke because their bookkeeper pays all their bills, and they want to play movie star. And I say that as an actor myself, that I think you take control of your own destiny. And this is a true story. We have an indie film called Celeb, and it was based on a short film I did that won a lot of film festivals, and it was going through Michael Douglas's company, and we had an intro from Michael Gruskoff, who was executive producer on Young Frankenstein and My Favorite Year and a whole host of classic films that the guy's done. And we submitted a cash offer in writing to UTA for Sandra Oh. We have yet to receive. This is months ago. The agent would not respond to us, would not talk to us, sent like a 2-word answer. She's never seen it. She's never read it. There was never even a rejection. There's just no communication because it was slightly below what she would get, and it was for a lead in a film. And I find it incredulous that this woman didn't even get the opportunity to read it. It's a strong...
No, listen, don't feel discriminated against. That stuff happens to everybody who's putting together movies, and it's because they just get offered so much stuff all the time. And there's some stuff that gets taken seriously and some stuff that doesn't.
Right.
And if I had to give any advice, what I would say is you have to stack the deck in your favor.
Uh-huh.
You have to put yourself in business with people who can't be ignored.
Ah.
And if you don't have a John Calley, then you've got to go find a casting director, as I did for this,
right,
Deb Aquila, who's really well respected by agents. Because even if they've never heard of you, your film, your producer, your script, anything, if they've heard of your casting director, you can at least get the door cracked slightly open. And the more of those pieces you can get together that force them to pay attention to you, you can finally rise slightly above a fairly large field of people who are trying to get their movie made.
I think that's such great advice, and in the end, you have to have a person with street cred, for a lack of a better phrase, that when that phone rings for the agent or calls, Maggie Gyllenhaal at her house, and they say, listen, I found a great script, a great piece, you really should take a look at it, they take it seriously. Otherwise, you're just another schmuck trying to make a movie. And if you're not...
and there are a lot of us schmucks out there. There are so many. I don't think that people really know. When I sold my first screenplay, it was such a great moment when I walked for my first meeting. They'd flown me out from New York. I walk into the office. I'm standing in front of the receptionist desk, and behind her is literally a wall of bookshelves, and all that is on those bookshelves are screenplays with their names written, in magic marker on the spine of the Xerox.
Isn't it amazing?
And I just looked at it all, and I said, are these all the movies that are being made in Hollywood? I said to her, and she said, these are the scripts that we're developing in this office.
It's amazing.
And I said, okay, now I understand.
Robin, isn't it interesting? Because I think a lot of the people aren't aware of how many scripts are purchased by the studios or production company that wind up on a shelf somewhere and never get made. And
most of mine.
Yeah, but it's got to be frustrating. For me, I'm trying to direct my own. The control freak in me doesn't want to turn it over to somebody. And the thing is that friends and people that I have that have sold scripts, and they're like, yeah, it's great. I made a lot of money, but it's never going to be made. It's sitting on a shelf somewhere, and they're very frustrated at that aspect of it.
It's very, very frustrating because every film that you write is a film that you want to make, and you just don't get to make all of them. You actually get to make very few of them if you have a long career.
Right. Well, listen, I appreciate you being here. We're going to play a clip here of your show. Would you like to stick around, or if you have to go, I understand, but we're going to play a clip of the Jane Austen Book Club for everyone.
How long is the clip?
I don't know.
It's just the trailer.
It's your trailer.
Okay, yeah, I'll stick around.
All right. Just in case it's a question. Go ahead. Let's play it.
Be able to hear it, though.
You may not be able to hear it. I'll sing to you. Okay. But they can see it on the screen.
Yes, they can.
You haven't said which book you want to be responsible for.
Maybe Persuasion, because I'm increasingly drawn to its elegiac tone.
Don't think I'm doing a book club. You're doing it. Mansfield Park, Pride and Prejudice, Emma, Persuasion. 6 people will each be responsible for one book. All Jane Austen, all the time.
All Jane Austen, all the time.
Jane Austen Book Club.
We're going to go to Paris. My husband and I.
Are hopeful about love.
Send me a postcard. Paris is off.
But helpless.
I've been seeing a woman at work.
When it comes to relationships.
You haven't said which book you want to be responsible for.
Maybe Persuasion, because I'm increasingly drawn to its elegiac tone.
Don't think I'm doing a book club. You're doing it.
Maybe.
Mansfield Park, Pride and Prejudice, Emma, Persuasion. 6 people will each be responsible for one book. All Jane Austen, all the time.
The members of the Jane Austen Book Club.
We're going to go to Paris. My husband and I.
Are hopeful about love.
Send me a postcard. Paris is off.
But helpless.
I've been seeing a woman at work.
When it comes to relationships.
Do you think he has a brain tumor? I think he fell in love. Oh, I'm rooting for the brain tumor. We don't just dispose of people we love. I sort of invited someone, said he might come maybe. You can't read these novels without wondering if he ordered that we read them in. They're not sequels.
Emma and Mr. Knightley, you just
Never feel sex. Austen's all about keeping it real.
I could use a little encounter in the woods with Mr. Darcy right now.
So what'd you think about Greg? How about those dreamy eyes? I didn't really notice.
You're such an Emma. You'd love to pair up the whole world.
It's a great dress.
That's not Jane's theme, is it?
Jane and I, we know our things.
Dean thinks Austin is the capital of Texas.
Maybe high school's over.
High school's never over.
You can't read these novels without wondering if she doesn't have a little thing for the naughty boys.
Who doesn't? Worse.
Reading Jane is like sipping wine. He's the spoon and I'm the dish for the screen.
To survive romance in the modern world,
Isn't physical attraction one of the ungovernable forces? Release the brakes.
they'll have to ask themselves one question.
Hello? Hello?
Hello. All
Are we
right.
done?
Could you hear it?
Yeah, I did.
All right. Well, I wish you so much luck with this film, and I'm so happy that you got this opportunity to direct, and you're a lovely woman, and I appreciate you being here on the show. We have the music that's playing here in my ears.
Persuasion, because I'm
Oh my God! Hang on a second. We're having a technical difficulty,
Don't think I'm doing a book club.
and because I need to ask you something before you go. Holy crap! Are you kidding me with this?
I've never had this
Pride
happen
and
before.
Prejudice, Emma,
Okay,
Persuasion.
drive a stake through
6
the
people
heart
will
of
each
that
be
trailer.
responsible for
Well,
one.
apparently we've got your trailer on a loop.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Fortunately for you, it's on a permanent loop that will be playing on this network. You've just now got the greatest advertising gig in the history of this film. We're going to cram it down people's throats. You're going to the Jane Austen Book Club.
Good.
Robin, can you do me a favor before you go
Sure.
and give us a station identification and
What do you want me to say?
say your name and that you're the writer-director of the Jane Austen Book Club and you're listening to Hollywood Babble-On.
Okay,
And
I
if
will
you,
do it.
If you want to mix in any personality, go ahead. You're a writer.
All right. This is Robin Swicord, the writer-director of the Jane Austen Book Club. I'm reporting to you from Hollywood Babble-On.
Sweet. Thank you very much.